October the 24th, and those will both be televised debates, and you'll be able to see more. I'm very honored to be representing you, hopefully, here in Washington, D.C., and look forward to answering your questions today. So thank you.
Great, thank you very much, gentlemen. Now, first question on ethics goes to Mr. Borrella, and that is, how do you stay true to your core ethical beliefs?
Well, the short answer is that I stay true to my faith, and I openly talk about that, proud to talk about that. That's the first thing. I also believe that I'll take ethics one step further. It's good to talk about ethics, but I think we have a moral responsibility. So I like to look at issues in terms of moral responsibility as well. As far as my record in ethics, I served for 2 years as an assistant attorney general and director of the civil division here in New Mexico, and developed quite a reputation, and I'm proud of that, for fighting for open government and transparency in government. We worked hard to educate and inform the public about open meetings laws, public records laws, and we, in many cases, set unprecedented standards in that regard. Those laws prior to our tenure had been ignored and frankly shoved to the back door, and government was conducted in secret very often. So I'm very, very proud of that record that we had in fighting for open government. And that to me is indeed a moral responsibility. In order to govern, you've got to have some sunshine in the legislative process. Speaking of which, and moral responsibility and sunshine in the legislative process, let's talk about health care and how, in my opinion, that health care bill was passed. Regardless of whether or not you agree with the substance of that bill, I would challenge Mr. Heinrich to tell me whether or not he thought that process, and all of you, whether or not you thought that process was very good and ethical and morally responsible when the Cornhusker kickback and the Florida Gatorade and the Louisiana Purchase and all these backroom deals were made. The process was not very good. And I would argue that's not the way to govern. And I would try to challenge all of you also to ask him why he supported that bill.
Congressman Heinrich, it's you 1 minute, and then Mr. Nolan, 1 minute.
That's exactly why I fought to remove the Cornhusker kickback that the Senate put in that bill, and did so successfully. We need to stand up and believe in what we're doing. We need to be true to our values, our family, and our faith. And you need to be able to sleep at night. And I can tell you that every one of my votes has been based on my moral, what I believe is right for our district and our country, and nothing else. You know, when you look at my record, what you'll see is that consistently I stood up for my constituents over the special interests. Whether it was the credit card reform bill, or taking on Wall Street, or even taking on some of the most powerful insurance companies in the nation. I've consistently stood up for my New Mexico interest, my constituents, over the special interests. I think we have a culture of corruption and independence in this country. And people ask me, what's it like to be a congressman? Of course, I don't know yet, but I try to tell the story that being a congressman is almost like being a piñata. And the piñata has candy inside, of course, and you have a number of people with large sticks. And as you go around, they tend to hit you. And sometimes the candy falls out. But the problem that we have in this country is exactly that, is that we have candy. And candy is not fulfilling to this country or to our businesses and the people that we have in place. So we've got to make some changes. We have to investigate the backgrounds of your candidates. I believe I have a sound ethical background and will represent you well in Washington. And I'll do my best not to be the piñata.
You know, make a comment how important it is for men to support women's efforts, certainly as the co-founder of Women in Banking Public Policy. And I recognize all the men and women that has come to be supportive of the organization, and I'd just like to give a round of applause. Okay, our next question will go to Congressman Reiner for the 2 minute and the 1 minute from Mr. Varela and Mr. Mullins. It is also an ethics question, and it is, what do you think the government's role is in maintaining ethical behavior in government service?
I think it's our first responsibility to make sure that we hold true to a true representative form of government. And so our voters need to be able to judge every one of our votes based on whether what our motivations are. And I think it also means that, you know, one of the ways I maintain my ethical compass to do that is I come home every weekend, so that if somebody disagrees with the vote, they see me in the grocery store. I hear about it. And I need to have thought about it and believed in what I did sufficiently well enough to say, this is why I did it. This is what I believe. And if at the end of the day you just disagree, that's not the end of the world. Where we go astray in Washington and in other places in government is when people are making decisions for the wrong decisions, not holding true to their moral core, or not looking out for their constituents. That's what we need to look out for in government.
Government plays a central role in enforcing ethics, no doubt about it. It has to play a central role. I'm happy Mr. Heinrich sees his constituents in grocery stores because he's only had really one town hall, open town hall, and that was very scripted. And one of the ways you stay in touch with folks is to make sure that you have open town halls, you stay in touch with people, and you continue to represent those folks in as open and honest way as possible. Now, I know he's had a lot of telecom town halls when you're done, but those have been highly scripted. The questions have been filtered, and I think he needs to face the voters in an open town hall setting in order to, in my opinion, get the gauge truly of what people want and vote on their behalf. That, again, is part of that moral responsibility / ethical responsibility that we all have who are seeking public office.
I guess when we're talking about ethics, we need to talk about money. And basically in politics, money is the lifeblood of a politician. And so you need to follow the money. We need to have real transparency and look at the dollars and where your representation is. And my opponent receives over 50% of his money from outside the state of New Mexico. And if you look at it even closer and you look at his dollars and where they come from within the congressional district, it's even a smaller amount. And so there's going to be a lot of information. People look at the Federal Election Commission dollars and they say, how viable is this race? And in my particular race, I'm in a dead heat where my opponent has 10 times the amount of money in his pocket. And the reason is because people that are out there, the constituents, recognize that there's corruption. And the apple does not fall far from the tree, in my opinion.
Okay, our next topic is on health care. And the first question will go to Mr. Mullins. And you'll have two minutes, and the other two gentlemen will have 1 minute. Here's the question. One of the main issues that drove the need for health care reform was the increasing health insurance premium costs, which was mostly due to increasing health care costs. The current legislation that has been enacted primarily deals with ensuring that everyone has health care insurance. It does not deal with containing or decreasing the cost of this